Welcome back to another sad reality. Today, Bloons Tower Defense 6. And what am I talking about? Well, critical thinking. Why? Because this is the most brain-dead odyssey I think I have probably ever seen. Genuinely. But hey, that's not necessarily such a bad thing. That means I can sit back here and talk and it won't be as, I guess, not focused as Deltarune. That's pretty peak. Open play, start Buccaneer. The reason I'm going for Buccaneer is for camo detection and stuff. It's probably going to be mostly 502, and then Druid's going to be 150 or whatever. Pretty basic, pretty easy. This game requires 0 brain cells. I'm already Paragon like 7 or 8 or something, so I've played this way too much. I know the last track can get a little spicy, but that's literally just small placement thing, so I'm not too worried. But let's just get into today's random story. What's on my mind? What's going to suck today? So everyone says critical thinking, but does that actually really mean anything? Like, genuinely? So I feel like there's so many people in this world, and you can have so many conversations, but most of the time they either mean nothing, they do nothing, or nothing really changes at all. I feel like the idea is kind of lost as every day just evolves in the same belief pattern of getting up, doing what we know to do.
Massive.
Schools, for example, teach obedience, not curiosity. There's rubrics, there's this, that. But they don't teach you how to ask questions so much. I know there's been more of a focus on that lately, but it feels like that's always been sort of just at the whim of whoever's teaching. It's not like a standardized thing, it's just, hey, you gotta learn math, you gotta know what, like, 1 plus 1 is, you know, basic stuff. But beyond that, it's how you do the math, and that's important, but then the kid sitting there saying, why do we care? I think that's a little more important some days. Because truthfully, like, not basic math, because I feel like, well, that does have a much more grounded place in day-to-day life. But take, for example, calculus, stuff beyond calculus, differential equations. Unless you're doing, like, really high-level stuff, which I know some jobs do actually require, then it doesn't really matter. I think most people that go to college don't even use their degrees in the field that they ought to, which is kind of funny when you think about that. Also, I know I said earlier I was going to do 502 or whatever. I'm probably going to do the 042 Buccaneer, literally just so I can speed through the round 40 stuff, whatever. But high-level math, it has literally no... Why learn this? Why go to university? Why do stuff with high-level math that we're never going to use? Especially because there are these programs that you can just plug stuff into and it'll do it for you. But is that critical thinking? No. Is that knowing how to use tools? Yes. But I think if you want a job, if you know how to use tools or you can simplify things, you're much more likely to keep that job or outperform your peers who are just trying to sit down and work harder, not smarter. It's kind of funny because it feels like we're taught what to think but not how to think in that regard, so it's just... why? Why? That's the big question, just why? But it's really funny, because I feel like the more critical thinking is mentioned, the less it actually shows up. Like, day-to-day life, whatever, you could sit down and be like, gee, I wonder why the sky is blue today. Well, light refraction, and this, that. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can talk about there. But you go down and sit to talk with anyone about this, most of the time they're just like, I don't care, I'm busy eating my potato soup, or whatever's going on. It's just not... Nobody cares anymore. And that's totally fine, I guess, because it's not like that's the most important question. But if we had more people thinking about stuff like that, then maybe we would hold conversations longer, maybe people would find more interest in the world around them, and maybe that would translate to other things, you know? Oh yeah, here's one of my favorite notes. So in class, solving problems on paper, but then in life, the problems try and yell at you. So I work in retail, right? And retail is great, and by great, I mean I hate people. And by hate people, I mean some days it really sucks working in retail. Other days, it's not so bad. I think my coworkers are pretty great. I think everyone's got their flaws, admittedly, but, like, that's gonna be true everywhere you look in life. Every person, every encounter, every situation, everything. It's not perfect. Maybe one day it will be, but that's not today. But can school teach you that? Can school teach you how to deal with problems that cry and yell at you? Maybe, maybe not. And I think obviously the job you're holding might vary with that. But look at most bosses. I feel like almost everyone nowadays has some experience with a boss that just screams, cries, kicks, and it sucks. My mom the other day too, she was talking about how one of her bosses is like negative people skills and just doesn't treat people right and stuff, and I'm like, wow, that really sucks. Maybe we shouldn't, you know, maybe we should do better than that. But I don't know. Who am I to say? I'm not perfect. That's not to say people are the problem. Oftentimes we create the problems that we could solve ourselves, and sometimes that is emotionally, logistically, behaviorally, and sometimes those things tie into each other. Something that I find very interesting is emotional intelligence. I feel like very rarely actually correlates with behavioral stability. I feel like you go to the really high end of people that are super, like, intelligent, whatever, and they're just leagues away from everyone else. They feel distant, and oftentimes they have trouble fitting in socially because their brain's just not wired for that or whatever. I actually have stories from my calculus, I think it's Calc 3 professor. Great guy, by the way. He actually would stock Gatorade in his room just because I would come and I'd like to office hours and just hang out, talk about stories and stuff. Great guy. I didn't do great in calculus most of my calculus classes, I think. But, some of the stories he would tell, there were some pretty crazy people in college, and many of them, especially in like the PhD level, whatever, sometimes stuff would happen and they were very unstable, and then that turns into all sorts of things it shouldn't be. I'm trying to think of a way to say it, but I think there was one kid that literally lost it to the point there was like a bomb threat or something insane, and I'm like, that's so far beyond whatever. But maybe we should like talk about things or figure that out before life becomes that. Just good grief, that's a little on the more insane level. Anyways, gotta get started around 20 here. And also, if you probably get the joke with this, I think I said this earlier, critical thinking and whatever this is, going around 60, doing nothing remotely important, using 2 monkeys or 2.5 if we count the hero, and occasionally pressing the ability button. This is peak critical thinking, you know? Oh, this is one of my favorites. Okay, I remember being told to critically analyze text, right? So English class. I swear everyone's got some story with just some goofy English teacher. I think back in high school, some of the English teachers were some of my favorite people, but there's always that one English teacher that's just too much sometimes. I remember it was like, hey, go analyze this text, you know, try to figure things out. And then having points taken off for saying something the teacher didn't agree with, but was totally viable, even with something that other people like came to the exact same conclusion with on our own. And that's not to say I didn't cheat, but that is to say that the times when I didn't, it was really funny when stuff just lined up perfectly, and I was like, wow, that's absurd. But that's all to say, score kind of trains you to regurgitate stuff. Life doesn't really care if your answer fits the rubric, and well, that sucks sometimes. What's the point of school? I don't know. I think there's a lot of good stuff to come from it. You learn how to socialize. I think there's a lot of wasted time there as well. Like, if I could have learned how to do video editing stuff in school, whatever, other than spending my time literally just uploading random games on the laptop at school with a flash drive, then maybe I would be a little bit more successful, at least on this end of my life, as Sad reality over here in this corner of the internet. People don't want to think. Thinking is work, and people avoid work. You've probably heard the saying, like, well, if you want something done, have the lazy person do it, because they'll probably figure out the fastest way to do it, and it'll be great, whatever. And sometimes that's true. I remember back in high school, again, you know, COVID, pandemic, all this lovely fun stuff. But for me, my hobbies back during that were chess and Beat Saber. I love VR. VR is really cool. Did a lot of Beat Saber mod testing stuff. And chess was just like, hey, I'm gonna no-life this because a bunch of Twitch streamers are. I don't really use Twitch or care about Twitch, but I guess that was kind of popular at the time. I watched Gotham Chess on YouTube, and I was like, hey, let's just learn how to do chess. When I was younger, I could literally care less about chess. My dad and I played, and I had no idea what I was doing. But now, I actually kind of know what I'm doing. Know some openings, know how to play. I think my elo is like 800, between 800 and 1,000, so not phenomenal, not awful. Maybe like slightly better than average. That's good, I guess. This is all to say, back during the pandemic, I had some of the smartest people in the world. I considered my clique of friends in high school to be the smart kids, and most of them were like leagues ahead of me. And that's also where I pull from earlier the behavioral anecdote of them not always knowing how to act perfectly.
Acceptable.
But during COVID, all of our deadlines were just like non-existent, because what our school did was they were like, well, you can miss stuff, teachers can't really hold you accountable. So I was very deadline driven. I always got stuff done on time because I knew I should and I can, and most of the stuff we had back then was very, very, very easy. I got to the point I was playing Beat Saber during some of my English classes because I could just have like that on one ear and then play Beat Saber the other times, and if they ever called on me, I would just respond in the text channel like, I can't really talk right now, or whatever. Full well knowing that I probably could, but I would sound out of breath and like I just ran a mile.
You call that
The kids that were smart, their grades were not phenomenal. They procrastinated, didn't do stuff. A lot of the stuff they did, they just didn't finish. And so I ended up with grades higher than theirs. But I think the irony in that is they were lazier, I wasn't. They were smarter, I wasn't. But that was kind of the end result of that. So, thinking critically, I'm like, are we thinking? Because if they're smarter than me, or are they thinking more than me? Am I working harder? Where's the line there? And I don't know to answer that question. I just thought it'd be very interesting to bring up, because it's like, well, how do we justify this? How do we logistically find some way to make that work? And this one's on the flip side, okay. I have had some friends who, again, so not the brightest, it's funny, I think of all the people in the world, they're the smart people and the dumb people, and I like the dumb people better. Not because they're dumb or anything, but because they have better personalities than some of the people that are crazy smart and don't want to fit in because they're smarter, and that puts them above people in some way or another. But I've had some of the dumber friends say, I don't get it, and then just never try again, and then I'm like, bro, it's so easy, just like Google it, do this, whatever. But the people that spend more time complaining or ranting about whatever they can't fix than actually trying to fix it, I'm just like, this drives me crazy. Especially as someone who is kind of in tech, knows the slightest bit of what he's doing, and can solve stuff without Google, but most of this is on Google, and we have generative AI to basically give us this before we even click on links nowadays. And yeah, we either can't use it or can't figure out how to use it, and it's just like, this pisses me off to almost no end. Oben, Buccaneer. But this is the around 40.
You call that
This should tank it, right? Because the okay, yeah, we're chilling.
time comes power.
I'm gonna go for aircraft carrier here. I think the rounds we start later are interesting because you have a little bit more cash to spare, but at the exact same time, it's like you kind of got to plan stuff out just a little bit better. I know the next map, I think what I'm going to do is actually top path Druid for that, but
Yes.
I don't know because I can't remember. I planned this just slightly, but also not that much, so top 10 critical thinking moments. Would critical think again. I kind of want to hit the 8k range so I can do this, then I can go back to yapping about whatever. 8k, please. Please, please, please. There we go. Yay. Alrighty. Oh yeah. It's just insane to me that people can complain for hours about something that they literally can Google in 30 seconds. Because it seems like there's some cognitive dissonance between this can't be fixed and I can fix it, but it's just not in a way that I know how to fix it. Which I think, like, that's where critical thinking comes in. At least to me that makes the most sense as to this whole video, this spiel. The issue isn't that people can't think, it's that they just choose not to. In so many situations, because that's easier. It's just like, I can't figure out how to fix my Discord because I forgot my password, I'm just gonna make a new one. And I'm like, can you not verify it with mobile? Do you have the app? Have you tried another email? Have you tried this, that? Have you tried looking at the support pages? Because may or may not be speaking from experience here, but some friends are really lazy. Most conversations aren't about solving the issue, it's just about venting. And welcome to this channel, where I solve literally nothing and just talk about the things in the world that piss me off, or that I find interesting, and I'm like, hey, why is this the way it is? And maybe people learn from this, and maybe they relate and they feel like, oh, I mean, I wish people in my life weren't this way, or they fixed this. But oftentimes we are those people. Because again, I literally just talked about ranting about this instead of fixing it, when instead I could just talk with people and tell them, hey, let's try to fix things, or let's learn how to do that. But instead of putting it on the internet, and maybe someone else will have the great idea to do what I'm not doing, I suppose. Hypocrisy is peak. Welcome to being a YouTuber, I guess. My question is, do I go for Carrier Flagship next? I want to say yes, I do. Because it's just an all-around good upgrade. Buccaneer is broken. This can beat chimps on most maps that have water. Subs are also broken. I remember saying it was a dumb edit of chimps. It's like the... I can't remember what the poem is. It's like a acrostic where like each... You take the first letter, or... You take the word chimps, you divide it into C-H-I-M-P-S, and then put something for each of those. Like C might be whatever it is, because I'm so brain dead and this is past midnight. But there's an edit of that where all those were blanked out and the bottom one just said subs. I was like, oh, that's so peak. Because literally all you need in this game is subs and you can beat literally any map with water on it. For the most part. But hey, critical thinking. Okay, so this next part I call the Google problem because it's really, really, really funny. And just to put some perspective into something. Think of it like this. We have infinite knowledge in our pocket, and we use it to argue about random stupid stuff. Welcome to the internet. Have a look around. Reddit. Let's argue about this, that, whatever. Intellectual superiority. But imagine explaining to a scientist from, like, the 1990s that people would ignore information they could access instantly. Like, having encyclopedias, manuals, whatever, in this day and age where people literally prefer to look at their phone than look at you while you're ringing them out as a cashier. It's just like, wow, that's insane. And to think we're so glued to a phone that has answers and yet we can't even figure that out. To me, that's just like, insane. Oh yeah, and I can't even. In my notes, I also just wrote, I've literally Googled things for people while they're ranting as well. And by extension, I'm like, well, is that helping them? Because sure, you fix this one problem, but it's not really teaching them to fix other stuff. It's just like, oh, hey, I'm gonna call my friend, and my friend knows how to fix this, so I'll just yell about it to him, and then he'll Google it for me. But I'm kind of depriving them of the experience of letting them fix things for themselves. And then I wonder why they keep coming back asking me for help. But yeah, there's a massive difference between being uninformed and being willfully uninformed. Like, choosing to just ignore everything in front of us because it's easy to do that. Especially... I'm not going to talk about politics on this channel, I'm not going to talk about anything else.
Call that big?
But you can probably see where I'm going with this. And I'm also super guilty of it at times. Critical thinking means being uncomfortable to an extent. It kind of means rewiring your head to being like, hey, what if I don't have all the answers, but I can guarantee those answers are out there, so let's find them. Often it's just like, I can't solve this in a way I know how to already, but there's a tool out there that has an answer for the job. I think that's really cool. It also means admitting, hey, you were wrong. It's like, hey, I can't solve this by myself. And sure, maybe part of critical thinking is going to a friend, like I said. That kind of pisses me off when people go to me because they're like, hey, this guy knows how to fix this, and I don't want to Google it. Well, is it critical thinking to say that this friend is a tool, they know how to fix this, and bada bing, bada boom, thinking has elapsed, has occurred.
Massive.
That was that one done. Look at that, I hit 2 buttons on my keyboard. And we call this critical thinking. Oh, this is so peak. What, round 10, 85. I know with this, you can kind of line the druid up to have the ball go out this way if you do ball of lightning, which I'm kind of debating here. And I can also do middle path buccaneer. I don't know what I want to do. Maybe this is the first time in the video I'm actually critically thinking. Who knows? Or I can do the same thing I've done so far and pray it works. So that'd be really funny if it did. Let's get the destroyer. Oh, that's already a bit of a lapse of judgment because of the camos. Oh, is this ABR? I think that's probably why. Anyways, where was I? Where was I?
With time comes power.
With time comes
Yes.
power. And brain cell activity, some days. Sometimes critical thinking means changing your opinion without being told to. And to me that's kind of crazy because it's like, well, on the internet we live in our own echo chambers. We have an algorithm literally catered to how we think, feel, desire, want things. And it's hard to be like, hey, sometimes this sucks, or we gotta figure out something and make something better than it was. And that was kind of my goal with YouTube originally, is I was like, hey, there's not enough stuff out there that I like watching, so what if I made something that was worth watching, or having a conversation with people that is actually usable, that means something is tangible. I think sometimes with critical thinking, it's being the one to say, hey, am I missing something? Am I, like, not thinking properly? Can I camo this? Not really. Can I? Okay, we leaked that. Oh well. It's mostly fine, I think. I think it's probably why I should have gone middle path here, just because this is ABR. What screws me over, you will see, because I made one take Andy, and I do not re-record things, except the first video where the audio quality was dog water. I think it's interesting, because I feel like the times where I've failed to think critically, I've definitely paid for it. And a few examples, like tests in school, are the really easy one where it's just like, hey, maybe I should, like, I should really figure this out here. Speaking of thinking critically, we're gonna switch the strategy to this. Because I need detection, I guess. But yeah, tests, just the future is a general statement of like, oh hey, maybe I should like plan things out, divide it into more manageable pieces, and then work on it until it's done, because that's really the best way to get stuff done. And then previous endeavors. Other YouTube channels and friendships even, and some of the really large projects in my life. I know most people in university are given like these huge projects towards the end. It's like, hey, you're about to go off and have a job, make yourself useful, find what you're good at, and explore, have fun, good luck, you know? I think it's kind of hard for a lot of people, but also, like, that's where the critical thinking comes in, because it's like, you need to find a way to get it done, might as well break it down to the most manageable way to do it. It's funny too, because having these notes beside me, it kind of shows that that pattern of failure or failing to think critically is dying just the slightest amount, because sure, these notes aren't perfect, and you've heard me pause here and there, but it's something. But is it enough? I don't know. Does the success of this channel mean an aversion of the reality where I'm not critically thinking? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to work in retail forever. That's great, but there's other things out there. Gotta go see the world and live life and breathe air. And I don't know how we're gonna get there. It'll be so wonderful. Here's an interesting note. It says, thinking critically means asking, what's my part in this? And I think by this it means what's my part in life, but sometimes it means like projects. Like, hey, on a YouTube channel, you are an editor. You are the arms of this channel. You get to make things with those arms. You can create. And sure, a sculptor might only be as good as the clay he is given, or the amount of clay, whatever. But there's some pretty creative people out there. I mean, you've seen people make, like, microscopic things, like, you know, I think they're called, like, micro Legos or something. But I've always thought those were super impressive, because kind of the idea is just, you're given the smallest bit of material possible. Well, let's make the Empire State Building, but it's 2 inches tall and in full detail out of Legos. If you're an artist and you're working on projects, you get to make the face of something. So, when women do their makeup in the morning, well, it's like doing someone else's makeup, I guess, but you get to decide how this looks, how it turns out, and what it is. So, might as well make the most of it, I suppose. I might switch this Buccaneer to top path, we'll see here.
The mountains have no equal.
I'm kind of worried about a
Strength.
few of these. But I could sell this as well, because what, this is 5k if I want to get the 37k for Spirit of the Forest, then build this back up using the passive income. See, now we're thinking critically.
Yes.
I didn't, I'm gonna hit this button. No.
The mountains have no. Yes. I search the horizon. The mountains have.
I have this one written down too. Because I'm not better than anyone, I'm just tired of patterns. Welcome to life, I'm tired. I feel like everyone's tired. This is from the perspective of someone who turned 21, what? Math's hard. 15 minutes ago, as of right now. It's 12:49 midnight. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on June 9th. It's peak. But yeah, I feel like everyone's tired of life, and I'll probably make a video on the word that comes up the most in my life, the biggest pattern. What I did find interesting, that word is cycles, because, well, you'll notice that a lot of stuff kind of goes in circles and happens over and over, but in order to truly sort of beat that, you have to kind of find your way out of it. I know I am not Hindu or whatever, I don't believe in Nirvana, whatever, but I heard they made good music at one point, I think. I don't know, I'm not sure of. I'm sure I've listened to a song, I just can't name any off the top of my head. But I will say, sometimes when you do grow, it's not because you're able to break out of these things. Sometimes it is literally just learning how to ask better questions and
We
think
shall
just a little
endure
bit
this.
smarter.
The earth swallows.
Like using one monkey tier 5 and getting passive income and ignoring the rest of this map. This game is so peak.
The mountains have no.
But I will say, alongside asking better questions, it's not just because you ask those better questions, but it's also
With time comes
not
power.
because someone gave me answers. Sometimes it literally just means
Yes.
asking and looking and asking and looking, and then you'll eventually find it, and you'll be glad you did.
Call that
But,
big.
in the process, it's
The mountains
quite the
have
search.
no. We shall endure this.
Alright, we'll just switch this out now. So close. It's funny, you can just barely hear the music in the background as well, so you get the funny voice lines, which most people have turned off because they're sane, but I'm not. And just hear the balloon snapping, popping, whatever. Which hopefully is, the audio is decently balanced here, but I'm gonna upload this regardless because I am tired, it is my birthday, and I don't really care. Although there's some really funny irony in me saying that, and then moving to this next point. But I think one of the ways to think critically, sometimes that literally just means slowing down, living in the right now, not the future. It's so easy to think about things that are worrisome, not so easy to think about like, oh hey, what do I have control over? The small things like, hey, just get up at a reasonable hour, go to sleep at a reasonable hour. Drink water, don't like dehydrate yourself, and if your body is a temple or whatever, like, don't defile it, I guess, I don't know.
Strength. You call that big?
Sometimes it also means breaking stuff down to what you don't know, or the things you don't have control over, because then it's like, well, don't focus on the things you don't have control over, but at least understand what those things are, and do your best to ensure success from the perspective of not knowing those things. Sometimes it also means checking if the thing you're mad about is even true or fixable in the first place. And in so many cases, it's just like, oh gosh, I wish this game wouldn't like black screen when I open it. I remember I got back, I think it was from college or it was a summer camp, and I couldn't figure out why Subnautica wasn't working on my actually decent computer that probably won't ever see the light of day again because I'm on my slightly worse laptop here. But I couldn't figure that out. I was like, hey, this is black screening, this bothers me. So what do? Keep reopening the game and can't figure that out. And then I'll leave it alone and maybe it'll fix itself. Maybe. You know, it doesn't happen, it doesn't fix itself. Eventually, I Google it, and it's the drivers, I think. And you go fix the drivers, and then it works. That's just one update, not that hard. And sometimes life really is that simple. It's just sitting down, figuring it out. This one is also interesting. If you reverse the idea, so instead of going to someone to ask them for help, think of it like you're asking the question. That way, maybe you'll have the answer. It's like you're being asked the question now. Because if someone said it to you, would you be able to figure it out? Would you believe what they're saying? Is there a better solution? The assumption is yes, but in order to test this, you gotta have your null hypothesis and that nerdy shenanigans. But think in steps, not conclusions. Think, okay, screen is not showing Subnautica. Ooga Booga Caveman Brain, is the monitor on? Yes. Okay, that's a great start. What's the next thing from there? Is everything plugged in correctly? Great.
We shall endure this.
Is Steam open? Is my computer fine? Yes.
cause trouble.
And just boil it down to, oh, have I run updates in a while? No.
The mountain
Maybe it's time
has
to
no
restart your
yes.
computer. Maybe don't do that once every 2 months. Maybe don't leave your computer up for 2 months straight. Ah, that's amazing. But it's funny, because BTD6, whatever, critical thinking, it feels like a lot of people live life on autopilot. You have this going, you have auto start, the rounds just move on their own, and life is, it is what it is. Like, placing monkeys with darts and letting them do all the work, or in this case, planes and ships and druids and a
Yes.
butt ton of spikes on the track. Autopilot. That's
The
amazing, right?
mountain's strength.
And it's funny too, because you could think about placement, or you could just go into this next track here in the Odyssey and completely raw dog it and see what happens. Because I know I'm gonna place Oban like in the spot, kind of in the middle here, because I think it's gonna hit most of the track before I even see it loading. Yeah, chimps. So I can't sell, which means I actually have to like kind of know what I'm doing. So I want this tool to hit
The
most of
spirits
these.
the mountain awaken.
I think he's gonna go about here, maybe. Hopefully I know what I'm doing. We'll see, I guess. Or maybe we won't if I stop the recording beforehand, because that would be kind of funny. Like I said in the first video, I don't know if I'll ever finish the gameplay, it's just until I get to the end of the story, which I'm actually pretty close to getting to the end of, so unless I can fluff this video essay out to another 100 rounds, I kind of doubt we'll get there.
Massive.
Yeah, you could think about the placement, synergy, combos, and everything, and blends, or you could just let RNG carry you, have your Wall of Fire builds, and have fun with that. Those advanced dailies are always fun. Although, admittedly, I did think just a little bit before this. I might have
Massive.
watched a video or two on the Odyssey. And hey, these two might just be the best, or the easiest, or the most brain-dead autopilot versions I could think of. It was funny too, because it's kind of like in life, if you do nothing beforehand. I guess earlier too, when I was kind of deviating from the route, and I just going straight for the top path block instead of the middle path on the ABR rounds. It's kind of like life, you do nothing, or you don't change anything, and then you complain when it fails. But yeah, thinking critical isn't anything crazy. I think it's just uncomfortable for a lot of people, and it feels like you float through a world where everyone kind of thinks the same, is the same. We don't think more about each other than we can. My dad was eating salmon for dinner tonight, and I was asking him, I was like, hey, it's been a while since you've had salmon, but it seems like you only eat salmon at this restaurant. Is that true? And if so, why? Why only this restaurant? Why not any others? And he said, well, actually I do eat it at some other places, but it's mostly this restaurant. Because every time we go to this restaurant, it's just salmon every single time. Which is funny. But I was like, what about it? Was it different than other fish? This, that, and I can't remember where the conversation went. But it's just the small things that we'll learn or remember. Like, he's reading a book right now called Orc King by, I think,
Massive.
R.A. Salvador or something. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I guess the irony in that is, was I actually listening? I don't know. Hopefully I was. Hopefully I've given this a brain cell or two. But I think to ask those questions in the first place, that does require some level of, hey, let's get to know this person, let's figure this out. What makes them tick? What are they interested in? What do they like to eat? And, I mean, these are my parents. I guess I ought to know them well. I waited way too long to place this. No, I'm leaking one camo balloon.
Strength.
This is so sad. The world's biggest issues aren't due to a lack of facts or solutions. I think in every way it's often, most often anyways, due to the lack of effort or changing the way we try things. My family's not perfect, and there are so many things I wish I could fix. And I haven't found out ways to fix them, but every single time I've changed the approach slightly. Sometimes it's a drastic change, but it's like, hey, I literally have no idea how to fix this, and it's probably in my best interest to fix it. Does that mean always being the best person? No. Sometimes it means literally just like, hey, lying, trying to fix things the not so great way. But if you believe the end justifies the means, which I don't, at least most days I don't, but some things I think are more important than the little conversations in between. So, I suppose that's a matter of discussion, or maybe I'll make that a whole other video by itself. But if you want your life to change, I would definitely say think deeper, think about the others around you, and ask questions. Ask a lot of questions, and make sure they're meaningful, but also make sure you remember and learn something from the whole process. Google it every now and then too. Or don't, and live like this sad reality. Yeah, thanks for watching balloons scroll on the screen and me talk. It is now 1 in the morning, which is, you know, that's peak gaming hour. I'll probably see you tomorrow. I haven't quite decided what game yet. I've got a few in mind, but I'm pretty sure I know the topic at the very least. Actually, I scratched that. I had it written down here that it's going to be Dead Internet Theory. I think that might be 2 videos from now. But, for Dead Internet Theory, I've got a few ideas, a few games that I really want to play, but I also need to make space for it, so gotta plan, gotta critically think, if you will.
Massive.
And the thing with Dead Internet Theory was, it's not really a theory, it's very much a reality. But on that note, that sad note, good night, and I will see you tomorrow.
You call